the heart of Bulldog Country, this is Sports Central on Bulldog Sports TV, brought to you by Harrison County Community Hospital. We're your weekly home for in-depth coverage, highlights, and insider insight on everything South Harrison Bulldogs. Whether it's game-winning moments or what's coming up next, Sports Central is your front row seat to it all. It's time to break it down, fire it up, and celebrate Bulldog pride like never before. Let's join your host, CF Rainey and Andrew Sweat.
All right, so welcome into week number 2 of Sports Central as we're really starting to get things started here. Last week, just kind of a little sneak peek showing you some of the things that we have available. And this week, we're going to preview all of the fall seasons. And so Andrew Sweat, again, joins me, a Bulldog past and current, as we talked about last week. Once a Bulldog, always a Bulldog, and I am a Bulldog implant. And so we're going to get to talking about each of the fall sports that's going on and just kind of give a big overview on the fall seasons. And then next Wednesday, we'll get into specifically going over the first upcoming games and matchups for each of the teams. And so that'll be for football, softball, golf, and volleyball. And so, again, want to thank Harrison County Community Hospital, our sponsor each week of Sports Central. We'll also talk about all of our other sponsors that are sponsoring all of our activities we'll be streaming throughout the year. But I want to get, let's move over here a little bit. And so Andrew and I were talking, and so we'll start, Andrew, talking a little bit about golf. And so this is the golf schedule coming up. And Andrew and I had talked about some things, and so the golf team had really had some great things going on, especially with the last couple of years. And let me get my screen set back here a little bit as I'm messing with things. And so, Andrew, we talked about the returning Abby Owens, who is she's done so well going to state and all those things over the last few years. And so they had, let me pull up my information. We look at 2022. Abby was a freshman and finished second in state. And then 2023, as a team, they finished first in state. Abby Owens finished fourth. And then in 2024, last year, they finished second in state with Abby Owens finishing fifth. And so I don't know what girls golf was like when you were in school, but those are some really impressive numbers over the last few years.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, someone like Abby Owens, I haven't watched a lot of women's golf in my days. But I mean, anytime you hear someone talk about it, you always bring up her name. I mean, golf is kind of a unique sport because I feel like it comes down a lot to the mental side, having that composure and patience, having the ability to maybe bounce back from a bad hole. That's where I feel like Abby's leadership kind of comes in because, it's a team sport at the end of the day, something like golf or track. You can always talk about the individual person, but I think, the reason she is so good because there's that teamwork around her. It really helps her go forward. But yeah, pretty excited.
And that's it. And again, individually she's done great, but as a team, right? Yeah. First in state 2023, second in state last year. They are going to have to replace Chloe Hodge, Ashley Cannon, Gabby Clark, 3 seniors that were on the team last year. They are returning a few others. Let me look down here at my roster. Ainsley Clint, Amber Criley, Berkeley Glenn, Addie Polly, all coming back that were on the team last year. But I think, the opportunity to do great things again. I'm sure you mentioned, right, the mental aspect of golf, the hours of practice that those ladies put in. I know Coach Kel Watson is the coach there of the team. Welcome in Lori Langfoot, one of our guests watching tonight. And make sure to comment if you're watching, and if you have any questions when we talk about some things or just want a mention, we'll see if we can get some of those going on. And so we'll move from girls golf over to volleyball. And so this is the volleyball schedule. And I was really surprised that Andrew is an expert in all things volleyball as we were talking about these things. But it's interesting. So, Andrew, you graduated. What year did you graduate?
2020.
2020. And so the first season ever of South Harrison volleyball was 2017.
Yeah.
And they just played a JV schedule, did not win a game until the following year in 2018. 2019, 2020, that COVID year, even all the way up to 2021. So, Andrew, young people don't grow up playing volleyball, at least in this area in Northwest Missouri. They'll play basketball, they'll play baseball, softball, flag football, those things. And so South Harrison's really had to build a program there and try to get things going.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, that's what happens when you kind of have an expansion sport. You just really have to put all your trust in the framework that you got going. Get a good coach in there. Lisa Cannon this year, she returns. It's tough. I was part of the very first baseball team as well at South Harrison. And you don't really do very good at the start. We can kind of tell that about the volleyball team, but they've really grown since the past 4 years that they've been here. So there's a lot of promise this year, I would say. Still kind of in that transition. I think, we'll kind of dive into this, but I think they lose 6 seniors this year.
So they're losing players like, all district players, Aubrey Cannon, Abigail Malloy. And so those are players that they're going to have to replace. And not only that, I mean, those are the two that had postseason honors, but a number of girls off last year's team that had played since junior high that were starters, that were mainstays on that team, that last year ended up going 11-11 with one tie. And so you look at where they've come from those years when they're winning 0, 3, 4, 2 games to getting up to winning 11, and had a little bit of early success in districts. And so just the ability to compete, they are returning. They have 3 seniors that are coming back in Eris Hansen, J.C. Schruff, and Hayden Humphrey. And then the other player that had some postseason awards, a sophomore this year, she was a freshman last year, is Ella Estes. And so she was first team all-district, middle and outside hitter. And you mentioned returning coach Lisa Cannon, as well as her assistant, Jess Estes, who has some volleyball history from being down in the city. And so South Harrison looking to do some things there in volleyball. And we'll move on and look at our softball schedule. And so South Harrison, the amazing thing, Andrew, that South Harrison had in softball last year, so they go 26-7, Final Four in the state, ended up third. They lost to the eventual state champions in that first round game in the Final Four, and then won their next game. Second place in the conference in the GRC, right behind Gallatin, only lost 1 game. And the amazing thing is they had 0 seniors on that team last year, Andrew.
Yeah, that's crazy. That's absolutely crazy. I mean, to even do it, I mean, we know just how important like a senior leadership is. We kind of go back to my freshman year. We had no seniors and we were absolutely terrible. But I think, those juniors that were there last year and even some of the sophomores, they had to be the seniors last year. And, for this softball team, you make it to the Final Four and it's like anything less than that isn't going to be good enough. It's going to be a failure for a season. And that's probably what the softball players are thinking. They want to go for it all this year. Softball could be the crown jewel for South Harrison sports this fall. Hopefully all of them are. But, with everyone returning, you're looking at a roster that already knows how to win together. Doesn't need to spend early season trying to figure out roles because they already know what they're doing essentially. So that's should be a comfortable transition, I'd say.
No, and I think that's important. We'll flip over here because I want to look at a little bit. We talked about conference, and so this is where the conference ended last year, Andrew. So Gallatin 24-9 overall, 8-0. So that was a huge game, South Harrison versus Gallatin last year, and so the interesting thing in all of that is we mentioned with South Harrison, finishing just behind Gallatin, 0 seniors. They had 5 all-conference players that, again, will return this year in Bailey Barnett, Ambry Hunter, Lexi Hunter, Rory Fitzgerald, who was just a freshman pitcher last year, and Ella Calloway. And then another year of experience, and you know how much that means in athletics and development with Coach Aaron Fitzpatrick for some of the underclassmen who played. And so you look at this and you see it was really top-heavy last year in the conference with Marceline, South Harrison, and Gallatin there in those top 3. It starts to fall off a little bit after you get past Brookfield. And so Gallatin was the main one. I was actually talking to some softball players. I've talked to Coach Fitz a little bit. Gallatin really only lost one player. They lost Carradine Jones, but they returned Bryn Bird, Tegan Eversold, the McBroom girl, Heldenbrand. And so that's going to be another tough out. And then the other 2 teams right after, Marceline and Brookfield, lost a couple. So South Harrison, again, it'll be that can we repeat and then build upon what we did last year with everyone coming back?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think what you have to do is take the lessons from last year, the ups and the downs, and try to translate that into postseason success. And the team knows how to win. They got the tools, so they just have to finish what they started. And even sophomores like Bailey Barnett is going to be there next year. Or is she a junior? I think she might.
Yeah. So you have her, Ambry Hunter. Let's see, Lily Wiley. I mean, you've got a number. Let me look here. So seniors this year, right? They have the ones we mentioned with all conference, all district experience, but you also have Katea Sunderman, Kinley Burkhead, Briley Sherrill, Keely Gilpatrick, Kayla Robinson to add to Lexi Hunter and Ella Calloway. So a number of seniors that are on that team that are playing important roles. But you mentioned, especially on the girls' side, it seems like South Harrison right now is really able to just kind of reload in some of these sports, even when they lose some really good players, to just keep that going. And I know it's something South Harrison boys' numbers have been down a little, something they're hoping they can get back to on the boys' side and things. And so you mentioned with Ambry Hunter, Bailey Barnett, and then Lily Wiley, Callie Weller come back in the pitcher, Rory Fitzgerald, who was just a freshman last year, a couple other freshmen. I know Kinsley Hendren got some playing time last year as a freshman. And so a lot for Coach Aaron Fitzpatrick to be able to build on going into this season. And so I think the outlook is good. They do have, let's get that back up there real quick, in softball. And so they'll start, they have, not this weekend, but the following, they have the Jamboree up at North Harrison, and then they start there in Kansas City with the tournament. And then fairly early, right, they jump into conference play with Brookfield, who's usually a decent team, Trenton, and then they go out of conference to the KCI with Mid-Buck, Marceline, and then September 11th, and it's a home game, will be huge, that game against Gallatin, because, again, they just lost one player off last year's team. She was a good player, all conference and everything, but I think probably everyone in both the South Harrison area as well as Gallatin probably has that September 11th game circled, and that is a game that we will be streaming here on Bulldog Sports TV. We'll be streaming all of the home softball games, as well as we've got 3 volleyball games on our docket, and we'll look at that schedule here a little bit later. But some big games coming up, and again, something I know they have it in their heart to move on and at least reach that Final Four again, and not something I was ever a part of in high school, Andrew, or you, but once you get to that Final Four, anything can happen.
Yeah.
It really leaves it open
Everybody
for those
there
things.
is very good team. So yeah, question isn't will South Harrison be good this year? We know they're gonna be good. It's how far can they go, really? So
No, it'll be exciting to watch, and we're excited to be able to show that with you. And so let's go over and look at football a little bit, and just kind of look at the schedule. And again, when we get to next week, we'll start to break some of these down a little more. But South Harrison will kick off, and we'll be there at Milan on Friday, August 29th. That'll be the first of the varsity sports that kicks off, and then we'll be with softball and volleyball as we get into the coming weeks after that. And so
live from the pit in Milan.
exactly, and so it'll be exciting, and we look forward to bringing that to you. And so you just kind of look at the schedule here, and we'll look at the second half and where they finish. But let's go over to this screen and pull up what those standings looked like last year in the GRC. And so, Andrew, you had an opportunity to broadcast some of the games last year. Every game, right? You broadcast all the games during the season.
Yep.
And so we look at this, and you look at a team like Brookfield, 8-0, 10-1 overall. If anyone was at that game, because South Harrison, Andrew, did we go in? Were we undefeated when we went into Brookfield last year?
I believe so. Yeah.
And so I think most people thought, hey, this is going to be for the conference, and it was a tough game there in Brookfield, and South Harrison ended up losing that game, but finished second in conference. I think the thing that makes the difference there is Brookfield, great team, 10-1, but they lost 18 seniors off of their squad that they had last year. And a lot of those kids were all conference, all district, really good players, and we got a chance to witness that in person. And so South Harrison, I think, coming back, South Harrison lost 2 seniors in Cooper Johnson and Briar Hudelmeyer, and 2 important pieces to what South Harrison does on the football field. Briar being a multi-year starter on the offensive line. Cooper had played some offensive line and then kind of transitioned a little to tight end last year. But both defensively, Cooper playing a defensive end spot, and Briar had played a linebacker spot. So 2 positions they'll have to replace. But unlike Brookfield having to replace 18, Marceline 9, Milan 11, Polo, another team that was kind of up in their top 4 in the conference, only lost 4, but 2 of those 4 are huge. In 4-year starter Maverick Gentry, who played quarterback, and then tight end defensive end Gage Gilbert, who were huge contributors since they were freshmen. And so, Andrew, I think, and give me your opinion, what you think the GRC looks like in 11-man football this year for South Harrison and maybe some of these other teams.
Yeah, like you mentioned, there's a lot of teams who losing a lot of seniors, especially those top teams like Brookfield, Milan. But, the GRC, it's never not been competitive. Every team has always been neck and neck right there with each other. I am circling that Brookfield game on my schedule if you're a Bulldog fan, South Harrison Bulldog fan. We get them at home. I remember being at their home field last year. It was a crazy atmosphere. I mean, it's just super loud. They had like a whiteout game going. You could just tell they're ready. I'm not sure if it was their homecoming. It might have been, but it definitely felt like it. But now we get them at Memorial Stadium on our home turf. I think that could be I don't know if you can pull up the schedule again, if we can look at that. I was thinking if there's a chance that it could be undefeated versus undefeated once again.
So hold on.
I know we got a few tough games, but I know we have that Milan week 1.
Yeah, so Milan. So we look at Milan, Putnam County, and Milan again. They lost a number of seniors. I think 9 is what I had written down. But that's a team, at least since they've been in the conference and we've been playing them. I don't ever remember Milan just having a really down year. Maybe they're middle of the pack, but usually they're kind of upper standings in the conference. And so that was a tough opener last year. And in fact, Andrew, I think South Harrison probably caught a break playing them early last year because Milan was a team that seemingly got a whole lot better as the season went on.
Oh, really? Yeah. Yeah, and that's important. First game of the year, starting it off with a win is crucial. Not a lot of people expected South Harrison to upset Milan last year, and we just kind of rolled with that momentum. I don't mean to be the guy that always brings it back to my senior year, but we played East Buchanan, who always makes a deep run in the playoffs. We had them week 1. We upset them. You just kind of keep rolling with the momentum. So I think that week 1 game, and you got Putnam County. Marceline will be tough at Scotland County. So definitely winnable games there. Trenton, we had some trouble with them last year, but I'm really circling that Milan and that Brookfield game.
Yeah, I think those are big. Maysville is a team that struggled a year ago. Lost
Kind of in a
honestly.
rebuilding phase,
They are. They lost quite a few seniors off that team that struggled on the football field. That team, those same kids did great in basketball and baseball last year, but just couldn't get over the hump in football. And then you look at that second half you mentioned. Brookfield will be here at South Harrison. Polo, again, lost 2 of their huge players. But when you play down there and you've been on that field, strange things can happen down at Polo sometimes.
Yeah, Polo is definitely one to not, can't go in there thinking you're going to win because there's a good chance you won't end up winning. We were one of the top dogs last year, so we're going to get everybody's best shot. That's why it helps to have experienced coaching staff who has been through the ups and downs of South Harrison football. Senior leadership's important in terms of keeping your head up and never overlooking any opponent in the juice.
No, that'll be big. And you mentioned the coaching staff is a staff that's been together for a number of years with head coach Chris Schoening, assistant coach Eric Coffey, who's been at South Harrison for a long time and has coached. And then you've got Coach McFall, Coach Corbett, Coach Sperling, right? You've got these guys who have been together for a while, and then you've got your players you're returning. Of course, Craig Coffey, postseason honors last year. Ruger Johnson. You look at that offensive line. We mentioned you lose Briar Hudelmeyer and you lose Cooper Johnson at the tight end, but you've got Ruger Johnson coming back. You've got Joel McCall coming back, Nick Mars, Ethan Smith, Gage Barclay, those guys who have played tight end or along that offensive line. And so the ability to just kind of reload there, and then your skill position players, with only 2 seniors last year, Andrew, skill position, you're returning everybody. You've got Bryson Quinley come back. We mentioned Craig Coffey, all conference, all district running back and linebacker. But you've got Quinley coming back. You've got Jet Cornett, another senior coming back, as well as Kel Taggart, who had some injury issues last year at wide receiver. Him coming back. So a number of guys, and then the opportunity maybe for some young guys to plug in as well. And some guys that were freshmen last year, see if they can plug in and do some things and find some room there on the offense and defense. But it's a nice place to be as a football team. And you mentioned your freshman year, but to have so many juniors and seniors on a team where you've got those upperclassmen who have developed a little, not just in their skills, Andrew, but also physically, that difference and what that makes.
Yeah, absolutely. Coach Schoening, and he likes to get in even the, freshmen and sophomores in there to give them a chance because, sometimes those can be the very players that give your offense a little bit of a spark. I know we saw Paxton Pack, some of those guys last year make some returns. So a lot of bright side in that. But, yeah, like you mentioned, offensive line coming back pretty strong, even though we do lose Briar. But when you're a run-heavy offense, that is very important to have a great offensive line. And, Craig Coffey, he's probably going to get the ball 80% of the time like he did last year, just run him up the middle because not very many defenses were able to stop that last year. And I'm sure he's got even bigger this offseason.
Yeah, when you've got a kid with that size and strength and the ability to be athletic with it. And so real quick, you just kind of look at this to finish up this preview. here with football, as we've talked about golf and volleyball and softball. I think, Andrew, if you were to just ask me, and I know sometimes they do like a coaches poll, and I don't know if it's the people at grc.com, grandriverconference.com, which is a great place to go if you want information on the GRC. But they'll do a coaches poll. I was looking for it today and didn't see anything. But if you were to ask me what this looks like if you were picking a top five, and in no particular order, if I were to pick a top five, I'd say South Harrison, again, with the number of players they're returning. And then in some form, I think I'd have Milan, Putnam, and possibly Marceline in there with those teams. Polo, again, was a top four, but they lost such important parts of their team. I think they may take at least maybe a step back there. But those other teams, Putnam was a young team last year, returning some kids. And so they'll be interesting to see. We've got the Jamboree coming up this Friday, where we won't be there streaming this Friday, but I will be there, so we're able to look and talk about it. And so I think it'll be an exciting fall season for South Harrison on the football field, as well as on the softball field. Again, a team come back with such great momentum that they had last year in softball, reaching the Final Four in state. On the volleyball court, again, a team that has improved progressively as the years have went by, and got that record up where they didn't have a losing record last year, and the ability to improve on that with some players come back. And then, of course, we mentioned first on the golf course, having went to state as a team the last couple of years and placing there in the top five. And so I think it's an exciting time to be a Bulldog fan and to watch, and we're excited to be able to show everyone what's going on the field or the court or the course, as well as talk about it every Wednesday. And so we appreciate everyone that's tuning in. I do want to give a little information here. Well, first, before I do that, Andrew, if you were to pick a top five, what do you think your top five would look like in football?
South Harrison, I'd throw them up there. Definitely Brookfield. They lost a lot, but they still have the structure from last year. They're going to be a tough out. I would say Milan for sure. I'd say those are my top three for sure, and then you can kind of mix and match the rest of the two here. You mentioned Putnam. I did like what I saw last year. I know we smoked them last year. I'm actually going to go Polo. I know they do lose some strength there, but there's always a hard-nosed football team. Tough out, like I said, and I am going to go Marceline as well. We were in a dogfight with them last year at Marceline. Hopefully we can get a game as good and crazy as that was this year. But
I'd prefer not to. I prefer just to blow out Andrew, because that was crazy, right? Overtime and 2-point play. That was, and it was a packed house in Marceline last year. There was no place for anything. And so real quick, let's look. So this is what our first 3 weeks on Bulldog Sports TV will look like. This is our streaming schedule. So we'll start that very first game, football, at Milan. And then our next event that we'll be streaming will be a volleyball game versus Penny. And then we get into softball. And then again, football, softball. You can see it there on the screen. And so that gives you an idea what our first 3 weeks will look like on South Harrison. Do want to mention, we mentioned Harrison County Community Hospital, which sponsors Sports Central every week. We've talked to a number of businesses, and a number of businesses has contacted me back, and I'll be visiting some places and talking to some people tomorrow. But the ones who have got all their paperwork in and everything so far, we have O'Neill's Home Furnishings and Floor Coverings, again, Harrison County Community Hospital, Petty John Auto Center in Bethany and Albany, as well as Trenton, Bethany Fuel Depot, Green Hills Insurance here in Bethany, El Nopal, authentic Mexican food, Farmers Bank of Northern Missouri, Hidden Acres Cabins here in Bethany, Little Clara's Garden down on the square for all of your floral and gifts, Bethany Building Center of Bethany, and United Country Real Estate, Nelson Real Estate and Auction Company. So we appreciate all of those sponsors. And if you own a business or you're interested, you can always contact us. And let me throw that up here real quick. And so you can send me a message. You can just email me at cf.rainey@bulldogsportstv.com. Make sure to follow us on Facebook. You can also subscribe if you're watching on YouTube. And we so appreciate everyone. We mentioned last week about family sponsorships, and a number of people, and we'll put that up here in a minute, have responded to that. And so if you say, hey, I'd love to help you be able to stream and get these things on, help you be able to make sure that you've got everything you need to be able to stream these games. So it's $20 for the whole school year, and we'll recognize all of those family sponsorships at the end of each game. There's our Venmo information. Again, you can email us, contact us, direct message. We've had a number of people do that. But here are some of the families that have already jumped on. Brian and Mary Quinley, Randall and Barbara Axon, Daryl Quinley, who I notice Grandpa Quinley is on watching, and Danielle Payne, Matt and Carrie Johnson, Thomas and Carlin Hudelmeyer, Jason and Vanessa Taggart family, Pat and Candy Haffey, my in-laws, Jeff and Tiffany Botcher family, and Larry and Brenda Holmes. And so we appreciate all of those people. Andrew, I appreciate you being with me as well, and everyone that has been watching. Excited to be able to start streaming games. Make sure to contact us if you have any other questions. We'll be back next Wednesday for Sports Central, again live here on both Facebook and YouTube. And we'll really start to break down and look at that first game against Milan, as well as look at a little bit about the first volleyball game versus Penny, and softball opening, and what they're getting ready to do as far as heading towards their jamboree, as well as those early tournaments. We appreciate you watching and being with us, everyone who stuck through. Make sure to share this so people can go ahead and see it if they're not able to watch it live. We appreciate you. And so for Andrew Sweat, this is CF Rainey saying good evening, and we'll see you next week here on Sports Central on Bulldog Sports TV, brought to you again by Harrison County Community Hospital.